Hello and welcome back. Today we will be reading Aizawa Appreciation Confrence by RDM Fave Clips. Category My Hero Academia. Pairing Aizawa and Midoriya Izuku. Aizawa and Midoriya Hisashi. Summary Aizawa was all ready to finally meet the infamous Inko Midoriya to talk about so many issues that he has with her son. He just wants to help his problem child with his quirk, and he's so secretive about his notebooks. He just wants to know more about Midoriya's past as to why he's the way he is. But the parent-teacher conference didn't go to plan. Disclaimer, neither I nor the author of this fic own any rights to the My Hero Academia franchise. Story begins. 10 boxes of tissues sitting on the student's side of the table. Check. 4 bottles of water next to them. Check. The mental capacity to deal with 2 overly emotional and crying people in the same room. X marks the spot to the no. The clock ticking away the seconds until the deathly meeting. Check. Aizawa was prepared to meet Inko Midoriya, his problem child Izuku's Midoriya's mother. And according to Yagi, she was just as much, if not more, of an emotional crier than her son. He had a description of her from Yagi as well, that her son had shared most of his physical traits with her, from the green hair and green eyes to the emotional state. So he watched the clock tick closer to the designated meeting time for Midoriya's parent-teacher conference. He was dreading his fate. He had recognized his desk and he had reorganized his desk and files when the door to the private room assigned to him for these conferences opened. He looked up and was prepared to greet a short, portly woman who was going to be nervous on meeting him, but stared at him, and he was greeted by someone who was taller than him, with a good foot and his student. Why was Izuku Midoriya holding onto a leash which was attached to the taller man? Better questions that should be asked is who exactly is the 8-foot-tall man with the emerald-colored scaled dragon head, toxic green eyes that had widened upon seeing him? How does the man wearing a dark green shirt that stuck to his skin like it was glued onto his skin, showing off his toned muscles without them being in their face, like All Might and Endeavor did? Or the way that the black pants were loose cargo pants, and was just pockets filled with jelly pouches that allowed the emerald dragon tail to wag rapidly on the floor, knowing his student. This was not Inko Midoriya. Minty, the stranger said, as claws clinked against each other, almost like he was wringing his fingers together, which is something that Aizawa has tried to stop Midoriya from doing when he's nervous. That's a wax statue, right? This is just a wax museum of UA High School with its current staff, right? No, Izuku said. That is really. Aizawa made eye contact with the stranger and blinked. The stranger hopped in excitement as the tail wagged faster. This museum has wax statues that act like they are alive, like the pre-quirk movie, right? When the exhibits come to life after dark. That's so cool. They're talking about Night in the Museum, by the way. The stranger said, No, that is the actual Eraserhead, not a statue. Aizawa-sensei is my homeroom teacher and... Izuku said, trying to explain. I'm gonna touch it. I can poke it, right? I'ma poke it. Dragon, Aizawa has dubbed the stranger as, in his mind, said as he moved his tail towards Aizawa. No, Izuku said, dropping the leash to try and grab the tail with wide eyes, but the tail was a lot longer, and it was already making its way towards Aizawa, who watched it. He sighed and slapped it away once it got close enough before he activated his quirk and stood up from his chair. He didn't imagine that would get the stranger to let out a small leap or to cower behind his student with wide green eyes, or that the stranger would pull his tail close to him, and he was alternating looking at his tail and Aizawa himself. I am Shota Aizawa, the pro hero Eraserhead, and I am not a wax statue, he said. You are most definitely not Inko Midoriya, so mind explaining who you are and how do you know Midoriya? Minty, he touched my tail, Dragon said in an excited whisper. Eraserhead just touched my tail. I will never wash it again. No, Midoriya said with a disgusted face as Aizawa blinked. The dragon was looking at his tail with stars in its eyes, much like how Midoriya did when he realized who he was. You're washing your tail. You are going to start shedding next week. I will make you a necklace or something with your old scales, but your tail will be washed to get those disgusting tails off. But Aizawa touched my tail. But Eraserhead touched my tail, Dragon said with a bigger pout. You will ruin a future family heirloom? Besides you, Eraserhead is like the coolest hero ever. He's so cool, and he's my role model with the way he fights. He's like the greatest underground hero ever, and I have met a lot of underground heroes. Midoriya, Aizawa said. Explain. 2 sets of green eyes stared at him. The dragon started to wag his tail again as he stood up straight and hopped over, like he hopped like Aerie does when she's intimidating a rabbit or a kangaroo during the weekly nights of charades, because that is her favorite game, and stood in front of him. Aizawa glanced at his student, who just had a grin on his face, which was eerily similar to the way he was giving off vibes of being a chaotic, logical ruse. That just made Aizawa squint harder at his student, even as the dragon got closer to his face. I would apologize, Aizawa-sensei, but you weren't really specific on what to explain, Midoriya said. Do give me a call when Torch is done with his 5-hour hero conference about how great and amazing you are. Wait, what? Aizawa said. Hi, my name is Hisashi Midoriya, the pro hero Torch, and let me tell you, you are the most amazing and coolest hero, minus Deku, but I'm 100% biased on that front. I have ever met, and sir, it is just an honor to meet you. However, knowing that you are teaching my son to be a hero, it is just an honor that I am grateful for. Honestly, I have dreamt of being on the same team as you for a mission, and the way you took care of my son after the Chicken Man fight, my respect for you skyrocketed even more. Bye, Sensei, Midoriya said with a wave. Be careful not to let him near your own jelly pockets. He absolutely loves them, and some days I think he loves them more than me. Problem child, come back here, Aizawa said, only for the door to close. Hisashi Midoriya had taken out a tablet and opened a presentation which he held for Aizawa to see that was titled Eraserhead is an amazing hero, and here are 100 reasons why he deserves to be in the International Hero Museum above All Might and Torch. Aizawa couldn't avoid the tail that was wrapped around his waist. Now, as Hisashi sat down on the floor and used his claw to slide the presentation to the left to start the presentation. If he came out of the conference with a red face, a glare at the camera because Natsu could have gotten him out of the conference early, and a message to a student over getting 50 detentions, and told his husband and son that they have to fight an 8-foot-tall dragon over being a Racerhead's #1 fan. Get your motherfucker. Pause for a second. Found it. That was interesting to watch because the two did go confront Midoriya's father, only for each of them to sit through a 2-hour presentation over how they are a cool hero, which was a lot shorter than Aizawa's own presentation, which lasted 6 hours. That is the end of Aizawa Appreciation Confrence by RDM Fave Clips. I apologize for the background music. I cannot focus without it, and I have seemingly lost my earbuds. Bye.